to Guillermo Rigondeaux. Coming, Guillermo Rigondeaux. Earth to Keith Thurman Jr. Give me a smoke signal. Give me something, Keith. I mean, your fans are out here. They need to hear from you. This is your boy One Time, letting you know. I mean, come on, man. Give me something. Boxing history was made this week as President Trump exonerated one of the best champions ever, one of the best heavyweight champions ever. Exonerated Jack Johnson by issuing a pardon for a crime that Johnson committed back in the day, which violated the Mann Act. And there are opinions are split on it. I don't think the opinions would have been split had it been another president. As a matter of fact, any other president. However, so it's the Mann Act was the some people call it the White Slave Traffic Act of 1910. It prevented interstate travel or commerce for immoral purposes. And Jack Johnson, look, the law was set up. You could argue specifically for him, and but I'd say 98% of the people who I've ever heard comment on it, they thought that, and who kind of knew what they were talking about. I'll touch on that in a second. They said that Johnson should have been pardoned years ago. And although the law, when you look at it on the surface, like when things occurred, it was like a black-white issue. I like to look at it as a boxing issue. So it's a great day in the sport of boxing. I'm not going to bring color or anything into it. But it's just a good moment in boxing. Now, if the president can pardon my man Michael second to none, that would that'd be another great moment, in my opinion. Now, I see videos. I see different types of videos. The first type of video I see is that people are saying, hey, listen, lay off on the criticism of Wilder. And it's funny because these same channels refer to Floyd Mayweather Jr. as a coon for attending the inauguration of President Trump. So I find that it's like, well, I mean, which way do you want it? I mean, if you're laying off Wilder, you got to lay off Mayweather Jr., right? Or if Floyd Jr. is a coon, then, well, Deontay has to be one too, right? I mean, you can't have it both ways. So which one is it? I was watching something on a channel of one of the names that I just said. It's that person's last name channel. Okay. And I thought it was a bit shameful. I'll let you put two and two together. And the topic was Jack Johnson receiving a pardon. And one of the older people that they talked to, who is an ex-boxer and who is currently a trainer, or somewhat of a trainer. He's always in the gym on the West Coast in Las Vegas, and that's all I'll say. He kind of knew about it, and he gave his comment, but the whole video kind of, it was a turnoff to me for a couple of reasons. First of all, the host who was asking the questions kept referring to Jack Johnson as a pimp, and he was saying that pretty much he was taking these women across, Caucasian women across state lines, as a pimp. You understand? To take them to deal with men, when that's not the case. The women that he took were that he took across or traveled, let's say interstate, okay, let's put it that way, is were women that he dealt with. And when he did it one time, he went to court and he was found innocent. And then when it happened again, he got sentenced to a year in prison. Now he fled. When the sentence was handed down, he fled for a few years, but then he came back and he had to do his he had to serve 10 months. And one thing about, so anyway, in the video, as the host is asking a lot of people questions, this is the boxing gym now, and I understand some of the guys were young, but I'd say 90% of the people didn't know who Jack Johnson was, which is a shame. Because these will be the same kids who say they study tape and consider themselves historians or whatever the case might be. And others question the significance. They're like, well, who cares? Now, and they're like, well, he's dead. Like, you're doing this, I don't know how many times. I mean, like, how many years later you're pardoning the guy? But like, who cares? Now, one of the women that Jack Johnson took was his wife, and that's where he was found. Well, he was involved with another woman, but because she was rumored to be a prostitute, the law is pretty much saying, and it was an all-white jury. I mean, let's be honest. They convicted him. So, but the first time, his wife, who also was like a former prostitute, He took her and he was tried, and he won that case. So anyway, in the video, they're talking. People are like, "Well, it doesn't mean anything. Who cares? Like, why are we bringing this up?" And so on and so forth. But when you looked at the video, and I can leave it below, at the White House, Johnson's great niece, she kind of answered the question when she said that the family for years was so embarrassed about Jack Johnson's spending his jail time and being convicted that they never brought it up, just out of embarrassment for the family. And year after year, it wasn't even brought up within the family. I mean, they just were so embarrassed at what happened. That's a shame, because people went to their graves out of embarrassment because they had a relative who went to prison for violating that Mann Act, and it just was a shameful thing to the family, and she got emotional. And so when people ask, like, what does it mean? When you study your own family history and you learn things and you learn about secrets and you learn about so on and so forth, you become interested in what happened in the past, and you ask questions, whether it was about something good that an ex-family member, like when you find out you were related to someone, someone historical, someone who did something good, someone who did something bad. So they were family members who went to their grave embarrassed and scared to talk about their family member, Jack Johnson. Well, now when you write the story in books, you have to add that final chapter, which says that in May of 2018, the President of the United States exonerated Jack Johnson and pardoned him for something that he should have been pardoned for years ago. Okay? It's not about what president did it. All the other ones turned their back. But it was this president. And he's I think if he didn't have a background in boxing, I'm not sure he signs the bill. And I'll talk about his background briefly. I'll touch on that a little later. So let's talk about some other stuff. Vasily Lomachenko, he vacated his super featherweight or junior lightweight title. And so now the message is loud and clear. Mikey Garcia has to see him. If Lomachenko wins his next fight in August against speaking of, well, no, I'm sorry. Let me not cut to that yet. Against Raymundo Beltran, or Ray Beltran, which we predicted would be the next fight, and I think that's what they're trying to line up. And if Garcia wins his fight against Robert Easter Jr., then they got to see each other. If not, then the finger on this channel is going to be pointed at Mikey Garcia. And I'll lay out the reasons why. But basically, in a nutshell, in his comeback, Mikey Garcia has chosen the easiest path. When he came in and fought a guy who was off as the ambulance or the police go by. They're killing me. You're killing me, guys. So during his comeback, the path that he's taken doesn't match the shit that he's talked. Sorry to my sister. If she's listening, I apologize for cursing. So when he came back, he fought Elio Rojas, all right, who wasn't exactly where he should have been. And he got him out of there in 5 rounds. Then he fought Zlaticanin, okay, and won the WBC World Lightweight title. I mean, let's put it this way. How many of you heard of Dejan Zlaticanin prior to him fighting Mikey Garcia? Then he fought Adrian Broner, and the book on him is you just outwork him. And he won the vacant World Boxing Council Diamond Super Lightweight title, whatever the hell that means. Okay, and then he fought Sergey Lipinets and won the IBF World Super Lightweight title, and that fight was closer than 117, 110. 116, 111. I think it was a little closer than that. Garcia did win, however. So it's like, all right, so Easter's next. This is the same Robert Easter Jr. who has received a gift in 3 of his last 4 fights. The Richard Comey fight could have gone either way. The Denis Shavakov fight could have gone either way. The Javier Fortuna fight could have gone either way. And he got the benefit of the doubt all 3 times. So Easter's not exactly riding a hot streak. The point I'm trying to make. Adrian Broner turned down an offer from Eddie Hearn. In Adrian Broner's last... Okay, he made... what's the guy's name he fought? Goosen was his John Molina. He made about 1.2 million. Then he made about 1.3 and some change against Porter. Then he made like a million. Like that. Okay, so when Eddie Hearn offered 2 million for the first fight, 2.5 for the second, and 2 point whatever for the third, it's like as Adrian Broner's purses have gone down, and let's just say he got a flat 1 million in his last couple fights. If you fight next for Eddie Hearn and you make 2 million, then you fight once and you've made the same amount than if you would have fought twice. And then 2.5 million. So fighting twice under Hearn would have been like fighting 4.5 times if you stay at whatever rate you are at now. So when you come talking this slave, come on, man. Now, the Charlos, they put it out there on in the media and said they would both be very interested in talking to Eddie Hearn after hearing these other guys turn down a deal. Now, you know why Jamal Charlo is interested in talking to Hearn, right? I'll give you one guess. Did you get it? Because of Daniel Jacobs. If Charlo signs with her, then he's going to be touching M's. Remember that that video in the basement of the Barclays Center? He's like, I'm touching M's. Look, those Charlos are like, look, Broner's on the way down, and you're offering him 2.5 per fight. We up and coming, like we there. So maybe if they get offered $3 million per fight, per twin, for 3 fights, I think they jump on it. I think they do. Because Jamal wants to be touching M's like Daniel Jacobs said he wasn't. There was a triple header on PBC earlier this evening, Saturday, May 27th. Nope, May 26th. We just crossed over into Sunday. Absolutely zero marketing. Nothing. I talked to about 4 or 5 people. None of them knew the PBC on Fox was on. Sean Porter versus Danny Garcia is done. Signed, sealed, delivered. I kind of wish it would have gone to purse bid to see how it would have played out. But this TGB Promotions guy, Tom Brown, he won it. And his name is starting to be stamped on a lot of stuff. And I'm not going to comment on it, but let's just say Tom Brown he's Lou DiBella West. Okay, I'll leave it at that. Keith Thurman is a sucker MC. Shout out to Duke Olden. I know that's your boy. I don't watch a lot of videos on YouTube boxing, but I did check out a couple from this cat named Precise Puncher. And he's got a couple of good videos out, including a film study. Check him out. And the film study is on the, excuse me, Naoma Inoue. Now, let's not crown Godzilla Inoue a pound-for-pound guy yet. He has a lot of technical flaws. And if you believe he stayed wide open in his fight against Jamie McDonnell simply because McDonnell didn't have a lot of power, you might be fooling yourself. Now, Inoue is he's awesome when he punches in combinations, and he has this finisher type left hook, whether it be to the head or the body. I mean, it's deadly, especially against some of the cab drivers he's fought. But if you can somehow slip that hook and counter him, I've seen him wide open. And you'll see it in the video that Puncher does. But it's not just in the McDonnell fight. No doubt he's a monstrous puncher. No doubt. But I agree with Puncher, Precise Puncher that is, that we'd like to see him in with some live competition. Now, entering the World Boxing Super Series, which he says he would do, will be great. I just wish he was still a superfly. Because if he was still a super flyweight, then I think we would have got some questions answered a lot more quickly. So in the bantamweight division, you have World Boxing Super Series entries Emmanuel Rodriguez, who may or may not be the real deal. Don't know. You also got Ryan Burnett. Now, he's one of those Roy Jones wannabe types with his hands down right in front of you, and he looks to slip your shot and then throw quick counters and then get out of there. Now, once he feels he has your pattern down, he'll get in front of you with his hands down again. He'll slip your punch, but this time he'll sit down on the punch and try to take you out. kind of like a Roy Jones slash Chris Eubank Jr. type. And I'm not sure about him. I'm not sure if he's more Roy Jones or more Chris Eubank Jr., but I like his style to see what he can do against Inoue. And I hope they match those two up, maybe like in the second round or something. The World Boxing Super Series bantamweight fight everyone probably would want to see it as the final would be Inoue versus Zolani Tete. Tete, if that was the final, he'd be 31 years old, maybe 32 by the time they meet. So hopefully he'll have something left. I mean, when you talk about age 31 and 32 as a bantamweight, it's like getting up there in old man territory. So we'll see. It looks like Rigondeaux might pass on the World Boxing Super Series, and if he does and says he can't make the weight, then he loses some credibility, with me at least. Because everyone's excuse after the Lomachenko fight was, oh, he's too small. He's really a couple weight classes below what Lomachenko was at the time. Well, here's the thing. If he enters the World Boxing Super Series, he'll get more than Rock Nation paid him in his career. He'll even make more than the $400,000 he made versus Loma. And he'll do so because there isn't one promoter who controls what the A side or B side gets. That's not how the tournament works. And when you look at the payouts from the Cruiserweight World Boxing Super Series, the winner of the Bantamweight Super Series will be well taken care of. In the Cruiserweight World Boxing Super Series, the winner is going to get $10 million. And I believe in the super middleweight World Boxing Super Series, the winner would probably get somewhere between $5 and $10 million. But when you look at the payout per round, it's like $1 million first round, 1.5. Second round, you get to the semifinals, it's 2.5. You win the semifinals, I think it was 4 or 6 or something like that, and then you get 10. I mean, it's crazy. So, I'd like to see Rigo, if anyone can find him. Might want to get word to him that it might be profitable for him, and as he gets up there in age, it's decision time, son. Decision time. David Lemieux missed weight for his fight Saturday night. No surprise there. He's had a history of lack of dedication to the sport. Silky Wilkie Camford got in the win column the other day, beating a guy who was 14, 11, and 3. Yeah, man. Oscar De La Hoya chimed in and said Gennady Golovkin was scared to fight Saul Alvarez in a rematch. Listen, De La Hoya is probably secretly happy the drug thing happened so they could add time to the rematch. He's happy it didn't happen in May. And he also tried to prevent Golovkin from fighting May 5th. That plan failed. Now what he's doing is making too low of an offer to Team Golovkin for 2 reasons. Number one, Oscar is afraid of Alvarez jumping back in the ring after a year off to face the old man. And number 2, by pushing it back to next May, Golovkin will be 37 years old and really at an age where they believe Alvarez can take him. So now he's playing the public through the media by saying Golovkin is scared and that He's made calls to begin negotiations with Daniel Jacobs and Billy Joe Saunders and others for September 15th. Listen, if you believe everything you see on certain websites, as most YouTube boxing videographers do, then you think Golovkin doesn't want the fight. And you know what? You're right. Golovkin doesn't want the fight at the terms Oscar offered. With the way this whole mess is going, Oscar needs to offer concessions. He needs to give concessions. Golovkin isn't asking for a lot, just a better cut of the purse. And to be honest, he deserved that in the rematch before the 2 failed drug tests came up. This has nothing to do with scared. This has to do with fair. And if I'm Jacobs or Saunders, I come out with a press release basically saying, Oscar, don't use our names for publicity and for leverage. If you want to deal, let's deal. If not, step off. Which leads me to my question. Is anybody ready for Alvarez versus O'Sullivan on April or September 15th? Good Lord, I hope we don't get that. I'll be going to Evander Holyfield's Real Deal boxing card in Atlantic City on Saturday. And one day later on Sunday, I'll be at the 2nd Annual Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame induction ceremony. I went last year and it was a fantastic event. I want to thank Angela Crockett for facilitating everything last year, as Don King, Michael Spinks, Mike Tyson, Dwight Muhammad Kawi, Arturo Gari, Levander Johnson, Larry Holmes, Lou Duva, Russell Peltz, Frank Gelb, Larry Hazard, Steve Smoger, Burt Randolph Sugar, and Bob Lee were some of the inductees in 2017. This year we have Bobby Ches, Bruce Seldon, Evander Holyfield, Hector Camacho, Vinny Pazienza, Ray Mercer, George Benton, Dan Duva, Ed Darian, Jersey Joe Walcott, a.k.a. Arnold Cream, and President Donald Trump as some of the inductees. Now, the reason I said Ed Darian's last name twice is he was a ring announcer, one of my favorites, if not my favorite. And if you type in Ed Darian, Derian, maybe you'll see some of the cards he called in when he was a ring announcer. He passed away in 2014. I wish I could have met him. But he always said the person's name and then said their last name right after. So, in this corner, with a record of 30-0, Iron Mike Tyson. And he used to announce people's names like, and I loved that stuff, boy. I mean, I loved it. He was one of the best. Now, you might ask, why would the Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame induct Donald Trump? Well, that answer is simple. Donald Trump made boxing in New Jersey. He brought boxing to New Jersey. I mean, all of those Mike Tyson fights at the Trump Plaza and Convention Hall, which is now Boardwalk Hall in Atlantic City. I mean, Atlantic City was on fire. Caesar's Palace. I mean, Atlantic City, if you go back to the 80s, parts of the 90s, a lot of the 90s, as a matter of fact, that was the place to be, that boardwalk. And Atlantic City, it was always shaky. It was always up and down. And then Superstorm Sandy A lot of people call it a hurricane, but in New Jersey, we call it Superstorm Sandy. Kind of wiped Atlantic City out a little bit, and now it's coming back. They have a new Hard Rock hotel and casino, which is going to open in June. They now have the outlets, like off the boardwalk, all the big stores, Fossil, Nike, you name it. And they got the playground, which is a nice casino. So it's coming back. A lot of the casinos are in the black now, not the red. So it's coming back slowly but surely. But Donald Trump really, he and Don King, who are buddies, they really made boxing big time in AC. So, and New Jersey, remembering that he owned a few casinos. He owned Trump Plaza. He owned the Taj Mahal, which is now the Hard Rock. And so I don't know if he's going to come, but those other guys, we're going to see if we can grab a couple of guys and get some interviews. Boxing schedule. Friday, June 8th, ESPN 2, Diego De La Hoya versus Jose Salgado. Now, if De La Hoya wins this fight, and maybe one more, they might rush it a little bit, but maybe one more, I think he's going to get an opportunity at a title. Diego De La Hoya is not a bad fighter. So we'll see. We'll see how that works out for him. And you recognize the last name, so I won't say any more on that. Saturday, June 9th, Showtime, Leo Santa Cruz, Abner Mares, the rematch for Santa Cruz title. Also Saturday, June 9th, they kind of counter-programmed him again on ESPN Plus. The long-awaited Terrence Crawford versus Jeff Horn. That will be interesting. That's for Horn's. What does Horn have? The WBO welterweight title. So that should be good. It should be entertaining. That's on that ESPN Plus app. It cost was it $4.99 a month? So. Also on Saturday, June 9th, Crawford getting cross-programmed the second time. Tyson Fury makes his return against some dude named Safari. Safari, tomato. June 16th, 1 week later, Errol Spence, Carlos Ocampo. Also, Andres Fafara taking on Ismail Salik. The Black Russian, Ismail Salak. Friday, June 22nd, Detroit, Michigan, Claressa Shields, Hannah Gabriels. And as the co-feature, Tori Show Enough Nelson versus Christina Hammer. Saturday, June 23rd, Billy Joe Saunders, Martin Murray. That's on Box Nation. I think the ESPN Plus picked that one up too. I'm not sure. I got to check on that. If so, I think there are 3 good fights in June on the ESPN Plus. You might want to play the $4.99 and then keep it or unsubscribe. Your choice. Just read the fine print. Where we at? June 23rd. I wish this could get on some TV. Josh Taylor taking on Victor Postal. Or Postal. Take your pick. That right there, that'll really let us know something about Taylor. Saturday, June 23rd, ESPN, Miguel Burchelt, Jonathan Victor Barrios. That should be pretty good. Saturday, June 30th, Box Nation, Michael Conlon. Something about him that just does not impress me as much as it does everyone else, but maybe it's just me. Saturday, June 30th, ESPN, Gilberto Ramirez faces Romer Alexis Angulo. Both guys undefeated. Both guys have big knockout rate. Saturday, July 7th, Jose Ramirez versus Danny O'Connor. That's is that ESPN? I'm not sure about that one. Yeah, that's ESPN. Saturday, July 14th. Week later, man, that's 3 weeks in a row. ESPN. Manny Pacquiao, Lucas Matisse for Matisse's welterweight title. Saturday, July 14th. Oh, also on ESPN, Regis Prograis, Juan Jose Velasco, 2 undefeateds. I kind of wish Crawford was at 140 because Josh Taylor, Regis Prograis, man, I think both of them would have gave Crawford fits. And Prograis wants to fight Jose Ramirez if he gets by Velasco and Ramirez gets by O'Connor. That's a fight they thought would be next. Here we go with both guys saying the other one was scared, whatever's the case. Hopefully they make that fight next. And then maybe the winner will fight Josh Taylor, because 140, as a matter of fact, I think 140 is being looked at as a World Boxing Super Series. And if it does, you want Jose Ramirez in there, you want Josh Taylor in there, you want Regis Prograis in there. You definitely want those three in a 140-pound tournament, if that's the if that's what they do, the World Boxing Super Series. And then you can add who else that you want. I mean, if you want to throw Julius Ndongo and Antonio Orozco and Sergey Lipmanets and Arantes Barthélemy and guys like that, I think that would be a pretty good thing. And lastly, Saturday, August 4th, at the brand new Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Atlantic City on HBO, Sergey Crusher Kovayev versus Eliter Alvarez, a guy who Adonis Stevenson made a millionaire by paying him step-aside money about 5 or 6 times. So that's it. Just some thoughts. Slow. Things are going to heat up very soon. So this week, not much to speak of. And then, I mean, for me, I'll be in Atlantic City at the Holyfield card and in the Hall of Fame. But then as far as television is concerned, it'll heat back up the following week with the Crawfords and the Santa Cruz. Also on that Santa Cruz undercard, Jermell Charlo versus Austin Trout. That should be a good one too. So, all right. Leave your comments below. Catch you on the next one.